Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. There have been so many developments in the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit in recent days. And last night, after 9 p.m. my local time, I'm Central Standard Time, I'm in the middle of the United States roughly, news broke, which resulted in this headline from the Crypto Basic. And this is actually after I had finished recording my YouTube content for the day. So it's another video where I was just looking forward to talking about this all day, because I will tell you this, the SEC is becoming increasingly defiant and desperate. So look at this headline from the Crypto Basic. SEC files complete package of objection against surrendering Hinman documents to Ripple, insisting drafts are irrelevant. So what's discussed here, and this is what the SEC filed about, and they've been ordered this 3 times. The SEC's been ordered at least 3 times, off the top of my head, to turn over the Hinman emails having to do with the Ethereum free pass speech, as well as drafts of that speech. And they just keep saying no, and they're pushing back. The judge, one of the judges in the case, Judge Sarah Knepper, she's pushed back and said literally, what you guys are arguing at the SEC makes you hypocrites, and I'm paraphrasing here, and that it doesn't look like you're operating in good faith to the law. It looks like you're just trying to argue whatever you feel you need to argue to achieve your desired goal. And so here they are, and you know that they're pushing for Judge Torres to overturn Judge Knepper's ruling on this. It's not gonna freaking happen. And also, you know my favorite part of this, and I'll tell you right here at the outset, then I'll give you the specifics as discussed by attorneys within our community. But what I found perhaps most interesting about this is that the SEC has yet another new idea and description of what the Hinman Ethereum free pass speech actually was. So you may recall that initially they argued it's just his opinion. They also argued that it was, the division of corporation finance. It was just that. They've got a whole new argument, and it's kind of blowing everybody's minds. And there was a thread where, which was started by attorney Jeremy Hogan, and attorney Fred Rispoli jumped in, as did attorney John Deaton, and they're all just sitting here like, WTF, mate, why the hell are you saying this? I mean, not that I mind. I don't think they mind either, because it's just going to strengthen the case. In fact, attorney Deaton goes on to state, this actually strengthened Ripple's fair notice defense. So I'll give you the specifics, but I just thought I'd let you know that at the outset of the video because it's so damn interesting. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, so into this article we go, and then I'm going to read the specific comments from the attorneys within the XRP community, a few of them anyway. And there's some specifics in this that I'll highlight, and you're just going to be like, WTF, mate, don't make no damn sense up in this bitch. Anyway, piece reads as follows. The Securities and Exchange Commission has filed an objection to Magistrate Sarah Knepper's recent ruling ordering the agency to surrender the internal drafts of William Hinman's 2018 speech to Ripple. According to the SEC, the internal drafts contain confidential SEC information and are not relevant to Ripple's claims. However, the court has ordered on 3 occasions that the SEC should disclose internal drafts of Hinman's speech to Ripple. So I was paused to note, I actually do have a tweet from attorney John Deaton where he talks about the degree to which this is highly relevant for the case. So yeah, SEC, go ahead and make your little BS claims, but it's complete and utter nonsense, and the judges are not falling for your tripe. I'm just saying. But here's a quote from what the SEC just filed. I think it's like 25 pages, but here's a quote from it. Even if they were relevant, the speech drafts contained confidential deliberations and legal advice protected by the deliberative process privilege and the attorney-client privilege, end quote. And then the piece continues. Per the SEC, if the court maintains its order that the Hinman documents should be handed over to Ripple, certain implications may arise that may, quote, chill internal communication not only at the SEC, but at other agencies as well, end quote. Oh my gosh, that sounds terrible. Shiver my timbers. No, look, that's the response. I don't even care. Like, those people shouldn't even be working in the government. If you are worried about something that you cited being publicly disclosed in this capacity, how about just don't break the law and then it doesn't freaking matter anyway? Like, who are these people that are concerned about legal information which is not about their private lives coming out? Like, who actually cares about this? If it's relevant to a case, and it sure as hell is here, What government agents out there are going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe the stuff that I'm saying, which has nothing to do with my personal life. It might get out in a court case somehow. Oh my gosh, woe is me. I have to chill my communication within the government agency at which I'm working. Whose brain works like that? This is the most, who is falling for this? You think the judges are falling for this? What kind of harebrained idiot do you have to be to fall for something like this? Piece continues. Hinman's disclaimer that the speech contained his personal view has been the central holding of Judge Knepper's ruling, as she believes the communication that led to the preparation of the speech was not the agency's deliberations. The SEC stated that the disclaimer Hinman used before making the speech is standard procedure to ensure market participants do not consider comments from SEC staff as the Commission's policy. And by the way, you're going to see why that's funny in just a moment. Just sit tight. You're going to love this stuff because, again, right here, as stated in this article, the SEC stated that the disclaimer Hinman used before making the speech, stating that it's just his personal opinion, is standard procedure. Okay. Just remember that little tidbit because we're going to circle right on back to that very shortly here. But here's the quote. Indeed, Director Hinman consulted over many weeks with dozens of SEC attorneys, several of whom reviewed and revised multiple versions of the speech, the Securities and Exchange Commission said, adding, quote, and again, this is directly from the SEC. If permitted to stand, the orders would chill the ability of government employees to deliberate about important policy issues and obtain candid legal advice from agency lawyers. The order should be set aside as clearly erroneous and contrary to law, and the SEC should be permitted to withhold the speech drafts because they are both irrelevant and privileged. Well, that's the quote. But as you'll see, they're highly relevant. So the SEC is actually arguing, they're claiming it's not relevant, but they know it's relevant. So they're actually arguing that documents that are relevant to a case shouldn't get out, and they're also making this nonsense about how it's going to chill communication at government agencies. No. If something is relevant, and it sure as hell is here, then you better know if you're working at a government agency, that might get out into the public. You should always assume that what you're saying could get out into the public as a baseline, all right? Period. This is not going to make any good upstanding government employee actually quit their job or make them fear that what they're stating is going to come out or chill deliberation. What a bunch of garbage. And so shout out to James K. Filan for sharing this late last night. You can see it was at 9:15 p.m. last night, Central Standard Time. He is an attorney within the XRP community. I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with him at this point. He's done a fantastic job of keeping us up to date and breaking a bunch of big aspects of this case. He's really diligent about getting documents from the case published because he has access to that since he is an attorney himself. And so let's go ahead and jump to this. Here's something attorney John Deaton had to say regarding the relevancy of all of these documents and emails. John Deaton says, definitely not irrelevant. Set aside the conflicts issue. First, what are the chances someone out of the 63 people asked whether XRP should also be given a free pass as for present-day sales? Second, comments over what constitutes sufficient decentralization make it relevant. Exactly, it does. It certainly makes it relevant. So when he said 63 people, he's talking about the people that were copied on these emails here. Here's another comment from attorney John Deaton. And the first part of his tweet here is actually a quote from the SEC, which reads as follows. The order should be set aside as clearly erroneous and contrary to law because the speech drafts are not relevant to any claim or defense in this case. That's the quote from the SEC. And then John Deaton followed that up by writing in the same tweet the following. I've read Judge Knepper's decision. No way SEC wins this argument. Judge Knepper ruled in SEC's favor more than not. And so I will say this. I haven't kept a tally in terms of who's gotten more favorable rulings, but I can tell you that my impression is that the biggest rulings have almost entirely been in favor of Ripple. So even if there's more rulings and the judge actually won, that may well be the case. I mean, John Deaton would know better than me for sure, obviously. But what types of rulings were they winning on? Like the 11 billionth delay request, getting that approved? Okay, fine. Yeah, good for you, SEC. But all the stuff that matters, or a strong majority of it, to me, Certainly seems like it's been actually in favor of Ripple, so I don't mind that one bit anyway. But obviously, all of this is irrelevant despite what the SEC says. Now into my very favorite part of all this, and I'm glad you've stuck around to this point because this is where it gets really, really, really fun. Check this out. This is from attorney Jeremy Hogan. He highlighted part of what the SEC filed here, which reads as follows, and this is simply mind-blowing. This is what I was talking about at the beginning of the video. Director Hinman's speech, which he gave while he was the head of Corp Fin, so it's Corporation Finance, provided guidance to market participants about how staff in that SEC division would analyze whether offers and sales of digital assets constitute securities under Supreme Court precedent. The speech was not binding SEC policy. That is, it doesn't matter. That's the part they highlighted. That's sufficient. The speech was not binding SEC policy. So that's what they're saying. Not SEC policy, but it's also not just Hinman. So mind you, Hinman testified under oath, under penalty of perjury, mind you, that the opinion was just his. Now, because the SEC is saying something different, that doesn't mean that Hinman perjured himself. But it's clearly conflicting here, right? Because he swore under oath that it was just his opinion. Well, the SEC disagrees with him. The SEC is now, and this isn't what the SEC was initially arguing, you know, at this point, but they're now arguing that, again, it's right on the screen. It reads as follows again: the speech provided guidance to market participants about how staff in that SEC division would analyze whether offers and sales of digital assets constitute securities under Supreme Court precedent. So it's not the SEC's official position, but it's also not just Hinman's position. It's the division of corporation finance with Hinman and all the rest of that. So here's what Attorney Hogan had to say about this. He wrote, "Wow, you can't make this up. We now have a fourth iteration of what the speech was. In the objection to Torres, the speech is now guidance to market participants, but only from Hinman's division of enforcement and not binding on the SEC. Calling Matt Solomon report for duty." And Matt Solomon is, of course, as I'm sure many of you would know at this point, Matt Solomon is an attorney for Ripple. My gosh, here. So now it's officially guidance. Like this is what I've been saying. Like the speech can be both Hinman's personal opinion and also market guidance. And I'm not saying that I believe it's just his personal opinion. We know what the SEC's intent was, right, back in 2018. But what I am saying is either however you argue it, like even the SEC's now saying it was market guidance. Well, what the hell do you think that's going to do to the case for the SEC? Nothing good, right? Attorney Fred Rispoli responded and wrote the following. "Glad to read this from you, Attorney Jeremy Hogan. As I started, he wrote, as I started pretty quickly, I was like, is this another new version of the genesis of the speech? This thing has more origin stories than the Marvel Cinematic Universe." Gotta love that. That is awesome. And then Attorney Hogan responded to that and wrote, "And now that they've admitted it was market guidance, what was this whole crazy exercise for?" Exactly. Since it's just market guidance, what's the whole rigmarole from a year ago arguing that it's just Hinman's personal opinion? Like, what was the end goal there? Well, we know the end goal, obviously. I mean, it just depends on what suits their needs at the time. It was just his personal opinion, right? Which means that in terms of Ripple's fair notice defense, if it's just, it doesn't impact the fair notice defense. It's just Hinman's opinion. But now, since they want to protect these documents from getting out there arguing that it's market guidance, which just completely negates what they were arguing a year ago, which makes it relevant to the fair notice defense. And so Attorney John Deaton jumped in, and he seems to think exactly that. He wrote the following. "What's stupid is that market guidance is objective. If Hinman's speech was only his personal opinion, since he is a director, the market accepted it as guidance regardless of his subjective intent. The SEC lawyers are not used to someone fighting back and don't know how to respond. The SEC, by responding the way it has made the fair notice defense much stronger, in my opinion." Exactly. So there you go, fourth iteration of what the actual speech was. Quite the evolution here, right? I love that line. "This thing has more origin stories than the Marvel Cinematic Universe." I love this stuff. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say, right? That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.